Hi and welcome to another section of our tutorial about using Kotlin and programming. Today we will see the simple structure of arrays. Okay, in your work in developing apps, you will always find a situation which you have to store more than one data of the same type in a list of data. For example, it's very common that we request information to a database in which we have 1000 elements of type of products, of names of products, or prices of products, and etc., etc., etc. So the use of collections or arrays, it's very common in programming. It's very necessary because we generally we have to store the information in many cases in one variable that contains a list of elements. Okay? And later on we will go through that variable using iterators or for or whiles. Okay, we will see how. Okay. First of all, as you can see here in the code, I created a main Kotlin tool here in this project. You can do it wherever you want, and the function main, which is necessary to execute anything. Okay. Now I will create an array of names. Array names. That's the name of the variable array names. But we want to be equal to array of. Okay, that's how we create an array of, for example, Johnny, Martha, and Anne. Okay, those are three names. Okay, now I can add as many names as I want. The arrays don't have a limit of size. The only limit you may encounter is of memory in the complete computer or the phone or wherever you're going to execute it. So yes, there is a limit of physical space, but in general, there is no limit. If we have unlimited, we always have to consider limited size. Okay, so the array in this case only have 3 words, and we will, for example, work with it. Okay, specifically, let's just print the names of the elements in the array. So if I want to go one by one in an array, we have to do a repetitive process. We always have to use a loop, and loops are either with while or with for, which we will see today. Okay, so var I equals 0 is for a while, and we can always say that while our names is in size, okay, the size, while I is smaller than our name size, which means that while I is smaller than the size of this size, remembering that our name size equals to 3 because we have 3 elements here. Okay, so we're telling that while I is smaller than 3, you should do the following thing, which is print ln the value that there is in arrays with in the position I. Okay, which means it will print the and then later on I plus plus, or which is the same as doing I equals I plus 1. Okay, so what we're doing is printing each position of the array. The first time when I equals 0, it will be Yoni. When I equal 1, it's going to be Martha, and when I equals 2, it's going to be Anna, because we are printing the 0, the 1, and the 2, okay, from here. Okay, and we are increasing the value of I each time the while ends. This is where it ends, so it ends here. It will try to see if the I is smaller than the size of the array. The first time I equals 0 and 0 is smaller than 3. The second time I equal 1 and 1 is smaller than 3, then it will continue working. The third time is going to be I equals 2 and it's still working because it's smaller than 3. It will work the third time. And the fourth time I equals 3 and 3 is not smaller than 3, then the while won't execute this line. It will continue here in the following lines down here. Okay, so if I execute this, you will see down here in the console, sorry, I executed the wrong, I have to execute this one here, sorry. So we'll see Johnny, Martha, and Anna, which is exactly what we have here. If I keep adding, I don't know, Daniel, Michael, So if I add two more names, because the condition requires it to be the I smaller than the size, it will automatically change to 5, because the size, this function that belongs to this Ri, will always return to us the size of the Ri. So it will always work. There is no worry about it. Yeah, if I delete now 2 here, I will have only Martha and Yoni and Martha, you can see. So it is automatically adapting itself. That's why it's so important not to put static numbers, because if I put here a 3, it will always get to 3, it will always print the first 3. Okay, great. A second way to do exactly the same thing is using for, which is the first time I'm going to show you how to use it. You can always use for name in our names, okay, do something, print ln the name. What does it mean? It means that for each name in names, print this name, or print hi, how are you, plus the name here, so it can ask him. How are you, Yoni? How are you, Martha, or whatever? The thing is that this is exactly the same as this. The only difference is that for only works when you have a collection. Okay, you have to keep asking. What you're doing is that you're telling the for. What we will do is execute the number of times there are elements in the array, which are right now 5, and in each iteration, yeah, it will put in the value name. This is a variable. The value of the first, the second, the third, and so on, which eventually is the same as what we did before. Okay, as you can see, it does exactly the same thing. The only difference is that I added this. You can take this out, it will do exactly the same thing as we have here. Okay, that's the difference. Let's add a small print. I'm gonna add the print ln so you can see the difference. Okay, there. So if you see, it will print first the first 5, the same as this one, is exactly the same thing, this and this. Okay? But again, to use the for, you need an array, and the array in this case is of names. Okay, arrays can change. You can always do something like this: name that push. Sorry, our names that push. Sorry, arrays cannot change. I'm sorry, it cannot change because the array is not mutable. That's what we call when an array is not changeable. In this case, the array will have static information. It cannot change. It will always have the same information as we can see here. But if we want to make a mutable array, there is always the option to create an array. Sorry, let's try it a different way. Array list of, no, mutable. It has to be a mutable array. Well, they don't call it mutable, they don't call it arrays, they call it mutable list of, okay? In this case, you have to put the type string, because it's a string, and here you put the information, Yoni, and for example, Martha, okay? So now our names is an array, is a mutable list, which now has only 2 names. It should work the same, there is no difference. The only difference is that when you do an, let's call it mutable list, okay, ML. If we put back the R names back to what we had before, and we put an array of, okay, and in this case, again, Yoni, Martha, so the difference is that this cannot change, that this can change, okay? Now, if instead I do this, why it's so important to understand what is a mutable array? Very simple. Mutable arrays allow us to add and remove elements. I can add a new name here in the middle of the code. I can say add name Kelly, okay? So the thing is that the first time we'll only print these 2 names. The second time we'll print this with Kelly. You will see the difference. In the middle of the code, I added a new name, so now the first here in this line here, the while will only print whatever it has in the first before we add it, and then it prints the name after we add it. Okay. We can also do something like this: ml names remove an element at an index. For example, remove the element in the position 1, which is Martha. So now I will have only, it will remain Kelly, Yoni, and Kelly. As you can see, we can even, let's do it differently. Let's make something like this. Let's copy this, put it down here, put another 4 under it, and let's make the change here so you can see the difference. So the first will have the original information, Yoni and Martha. The second, I added Kelly. The third, I removed Martha. I removed the number 1 here. I can remove 0. It will mean that I will remove Yoni instead of Martha. And now I have Martha and Kelly. As you can see, mutable lists are much more useful in some way or another than static arrays. Now the difference is mainly on the way it works with from behind. I mean, it's much more, it's faster to use arrays. The system uses arrays much more optimal, but the mutable lists are much more interesting because we may need to change the list during our work. Okay, it doesn't really only stays there. We can make all kind of additions, take it out, add new things to that. I mean, now it's only names, but we can create products and so on, so on. Okay. Now, this is working with multiple lists. We can remove, we can add, we can replace. Okay, we can add all. We can add more than one if we have a previous collection. Okay. We can set a specific position. Instead, adding will only add it to the end. But if we set, we can set and tell him, okay, the position 1, instead of Yoni, I wanted to have John. Okay, so what will happen, yes, is, let's do this. What will happen is that it will, now, instead of Yoni, said John. Okay, we'll replace the position 1 with John. Okay, because with Kelly, because as you can see, there is an evolution here. First, we have Yoni and Martha. Then we added Kelly to the end with the add. Then we removed Yoni with the remove index. So Martha became 0 and Kelly became 1. And now I'm replacing 1 with John, which means that Kelly was replaced by John. So this is all the options mutable arrays allow us, while simple arrays do not allow this. Okay, so this is the first. You have to understand that you can add all kinds of data, not only strings. It can be ints, doubles, objects, we will see later. So you can really create lists of many other things, not only strings. Okay, that's it.